Hi, I'm Jennifer from Shabby Fabrics. Today I'm going to show you how to make this cute Dresden wreath wall hanging designed with the Dresden ruler and with a little help from the Prairie Pointer. Look how cute this is. I love decorating for Christmas. It's obviously one of my favorite times of the year. I think it is for most people. This is such a simple project and it looks complicated. Those are my favorite kinds of projects. They look complicated, like they took you a long time, but in actuality this is super simple, and let me show you how. Now, what makes this look complicated is it looks like each one of those Dresden fans is two fabrics. It's actually a fabric from Marcus Brothers called Strip It. And they've printed these for years. They kind of come and go. And right now they have a really pretty Christmas one that I used. And I'm going to show you how to use the Dresden ruler and the Strip It to give you this effect. This project is a one-day project, if you can believe it. And let me show you how. The first thing that you want to do anytime you're using the Dresden ruler is decide how big you want your fans to be. I just chose 5 inches. I thought that was a nice size. So the first thing you'll do with your Strip It, or maybe you're using a different fabric other than a Strip It, is cut your strips to the same width as the Dresden length. So I wanted 5-inch fans, so cut your strip to 5 inches wide. Now I'll be using the spinning ruler or the spinning mat today because it really helps me, and I'll show you what I mean by that. First thing is you'll want to go ahead and get this ruler. This is a great investment. You're going to use this so many times. I'm finding that rulers are always a great investment because there's just infinite possibilities with them. So go ahead and pick up that Dresden fan ruler, and the Prairie Pointer we'll be using a little bit later, and I'll show you how that's another great tool to have on hand for fancy prairie points or what we'll be doing today. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is I'm going to need to go ahead and get myself a cutting tool, and we're going to have on the ruler, let me show it to you. It starts of course at 0, and in this particular ruler it ends at 9. So you've got your Strip It, and you've got your dark color on the left and the light color on the right. You will put the center line of this ruler down the center of the Strip It. So that's very easy to do. And you'll go ahead and you're just going to cut this, and then without disturbing that, you're just going to spin this around. And you're just going to cut that again. Now, without even disturbing the fabric, all you need to do is just move the ruler again. Again, put it on the center line. Go ahead and cut. Pivot. Go ahead and cut. And you'll want to just keep repeating that. Now, this particular Dresden has 20 fans. So you'll go ahead and cut out 20 pieces. Now, I've cut some ahead of time just to save us a little bit of time. So the first thing you'll want to do once you have them cut out, grab yourself a pressing mat and a good hot iron. Now I have today with me a sealing iron because later on I'll show you how to prepare the center of your Dresden wreath, and I'll be using the sealing iron to actually turn that edge under. So I'm just going to be using the iron for everything today just to make things simple. So you have your Dresden fan already cut. Remember, that's 5 inches long. You'll just fold this right sides together. Make sure those come together just as perfect as you can. Take this to your sewing machine and you're just going to sew 1/4 inch. Do that real quick. And you can just sew those obviously all at the same time, but I want to show you the whole process so that way you understand how to prepare them. Now this is where I like to use the Prairie Pointer. It's not essential to do this project, but you'll see how the Prairie Pointer is just a wonderful addition. So I'm going to clip here. You see where the threads are. I'm going to clip in there, I don't know, 30, 45 degree angle. I'm staying a little bit of a distance away from that thread so I don't accidentally clip them. Now I'm going to go in with my Prairie Pointer here, and of course I've got my center line already there because that's one fabric on the left and one on the right. So on the prairie pointer, there's another center line. It's very easy to just line that up like this. And this is why I love the prairie pointer. It's a place for the fabric to lay down so that I can just now go in and press it. Okay, so that's pressed good and open. Now I'm going to take this and turn this right side out. And again, this is where I really like that prairie pointer, because sometimes when you turn something right side out, it's hard to get a really sharp point. It just, the fabric tends to bunch up in the area. That's why I really like to use that prairie pointer, is it presses it out for me so I have a nice point on my Dresden. I don't want it rounded, I want it pointy. So now, again, the seam there is lining up with the center of my prairie pointer, which is lining up with the center of my strip it fabric. So now I know I'm absolutely lined up in every possible way. That's why I really like the prairie pointer. Again, you can imagine I can do the steps without the prairie pointer, but I don't think it would be quite as pointy, and I wouldn't be exactly as lined up as I want to be. I'd be kind of guessing a little bit. So that's how you prepare one of the Dresden fans. Now I've prepared some of the others ahead of time, and I want to show you how we go ahead and sew them in groups. Now, one thing I've learned about whenever I use Dresden is, of course, this union right here, I don't want my threads up here, because if I clipped my threads right there, you would see where the thread ended. Let me show you what I mean. Place these right sides together. You would think that you would normally start here. I don't want you to do that. Let's start about 3/4, maybe half an inch down. We're going to start here. We're going to back up, go to the top, and then come back down. That way when we clip our threads, it's not up here, it's down there. So you don't see that little bit of thread poking up above. So let me show you what I mean. I'm using a green thread today just so that you can see what I'm doing. Of course, I wouldn't normally be using a green thread if I'm working with red and cream fabric. I'd use something, a cream, most likely. But let's just start about a half an inch away, about right there. And we're just going to start by backing up. Get that, and then go right back down. There we go. So I want you to see this. Now the thread, you always leave just a little bit of a tail there. You don't want to completely snip it right down to the bottom, because you could potentially just snip where you just sewed. That's why it's great to be down just slightly. So that way when I open this up, you can't even see that there's any thread. Now press open for sure. We need this to lie as flat as possible. So you'll be pressing open. Now I mentioned there was 20 total fans. Make groups of 5. Make 4 groups of 5 rather than just adding on. You're just going to get distortion after time. So I will add 2 more and set that aside. Then I'll make 5 more, make a new group of 5, and repeat that until I have 4 groups of 5, and then sew those together. So once that's all put together, it's really straightforward. All you'll be doing at that point is just getting your background fabric, fold it in half, find your center like you normally would with anything. Let's pretend like that's our center. And then you're going to just begin placing it, keeping in mind that that center is going to be covered up with your Dresden circle. So the Dresden circle has a cross on there, kind of a bullseye. So you can kind of go, okay, that's going to be my center. Yes, that's where I want my Dresden. And then all you'll need to do to secure that in place is, I like to use the basting glue. I love this stuff. I use it for everything. So you'll just be putting some of that glue on the back. This is temporary basting glue. Put that into position all the way around, of course, making sure you know exactly where your center is going to be. Then you can go in with an invisible thread, a coordinating thread, and just stitch that down. And then the only thing to do in the very end for each of the blocks is the center. Now you've got a choice here. You can either do heat and bond light, or steam a seam, a fusible webbing, or you can turn the edge under. Now, because the Dresden's all turned under, I like turned under. So I'm going to keep that concept going. And I want to show you just how simple it is to go ahead and turn that edge under. Now we have the applique kit available on Shabby Fabrics, and it's all of the best applique tools that I found I need anytime I do turn the edge under on applique. So I'm going to opt for that today rather than the heat and bond. So the first thing you'll want to do, I'm going to put this aside for now. The first thing you'll want to do when you prepare that center, of course, is grab your template. And I like to work with freezer paper. Now, because this is a symmetrical shape, obviously, it doesn't really matter whether I trace on the shiny side or the flat side. It's way simpler to always trace on the flat side of freezer paper, so I'm going to trace on that. So I'll just trace around it once. Then, with my scissors, I'm actually going to just cut this like this, and I'm going to cut this like this, and I'm going to double this. Now, why am I doing that? Because this isn't very stiff. If I go to turn my fabric around this, there's just not enough stability for that to hold its shape when I pull the fabric over the top. You'll see what I mean. See how flimsy this is. This isn't going to be very strong for me. But if I go ahead, now I could either just put this one on top or put it underneath. If I'm worried about the ink transferring to my fabric, let's say I'm working with a white, I would absolutely put that underneath here. And now I'm shiny side down and shiny side down, ironed together. I'm not worried about the ink transferring to my green. It's a dark fabric. It's easier for me to cut out if that's on the top. So I'm just going to iron those together like this. And now I have twice the thickness, and I really only need to make this template one time. I can reuse it for all 4 of the centers of those Dresdens. So you're going to iron this together and then just cut on the line. Now I've done that ahead of time just to save us a little bit of time. But look at this now. You can hear, it's amazing how twice the thickness is just, you can use it over and over again, and it's not going to cave in when you turn the fabric around it. Now you'll just get your green fabric or whatever's going to be in the center, and you would put this down and then just iron it down. Of course, it wouldn't already be cut into a circle. I did this just to save us time, but you'll just have green or whatever color you're using in your kit or in your stash, and you're just going to iron this down. And you would cut a 1/4 inch around, which we've already done, again, just to save some time. When it's 2 layers of freezer paper, it takes a little bit more time to iron that down, and you might want to use your regular iron to just iron that down. I'm just using this just to save space here for our demonstration. Now, what I've put in a cap here is some spray starch. I have an applique stiletto here, and I also have the fabric dye brush. These are all part of the applique kit. So when, not the spray starch, but these 2 elements here, which are really important part of this. This is just ordinary spray starch I've sprayed into the cap, and it's become liquid. Now watch as I brush this on. We can do this very quickly. We're just going to brush this on, and because I have twice the layer of freezer paper, it's going to be able to sustain me pulling pretty hard over this template. Okay, and then notice I didn't get it wet all the way around there. I work in small sections because the key here is to make sure that we keep our template dry. As soon as the template gets wet, it's paper. It's going to weaken, of course. So we'll just keep working our way around. And then when I come back, this will be all ready to go, and we'll position this onto our Dresden and we'll finish up our project. So I have all my edges turned under, and this is the great part about the reusable nature of freezer paper, is all I have to do is just gently take it out, and I'm ready to make the next Dresden center. Now whenever I take it out, I like to bring this right back to the pressing mat. Just reinforce that edge that's already there. Just make sure, and I like to go over it one more time. Now, of course, you'd have your Dresden already glued down. So same thing, you'll just put drops of glue all the way around and then just position this over top and then stitch around. So I hope you enjoyed learning how to use the Dresden ruler, the prairie pointer, to make the Dresden wreath wall hanging. Be sure to pick up your kit that's available exclusively from Shabby Fabrics.